Welcome to lesson 4.5b. And let me tell you, it's not going to be that different than what we did in 4.5a, which is we simplified, and then at the end of the lesson, we learned to evaluate those simplified expressions. When we're simplifying, we're still going to be applying the distributive property, if it is present, combining like terms if we can, and then if it says to evaluate, we'll take the values for the variable that we are given and we'll plug those in. So Mrs. Kluver, how is 4.5b lesson different than the 4.5a lesson? Well, let's jump into number 1 here. We have take away the quantity a plus 5. Here's the thing. We might get a little stumped. Those minus signs tend to trip us up. But there's that invisible 1. There is a 1 right here. Okay? It just doesn't need to be seen. So we need to make sure that we take this minus 1 and we pass it to every member inside the group. And when we're passing it, we're multiplying. So let's remind ourselves right now. In your notes on the left-hand side, it says when we multiply, signs agree, what is our answer going to be? Positive. When the signs disagree when we're multiplying, what is our answer going to be? Negative. So in this lesson, we really want to pay attention to outside the group and inside the group, those minus signs, those negative signs. When there's just the minus outside the group, this is really like a negative 1, a minus 1 times the quantity a plus 5. So negative 1 times a, well, that's going to give me negative 1a, which I can write as just negative a. There's always that invisible 1 in front of the variable. Then we have negative 1 times, this is a positive 5. My signs don't agree, so it's going to be a negative 5. I have this written in the professional way. There is my simplified answer. So really how this lesson today differs from 4.5a is we want to really pay attention to the minuses outside the grouping symbol and inside the grouping symbol. Let's go to number 2. We have take away the group or take away the quantity negative x plus 31. Remember, there's that 1 on the outside. It just doesn't have to be seen. We want to make sure that we pass this negative to every member of the group. So we have negative 1 times negative x, right? There's a negative x there. My signs agree, so that means my product is just going to be 1x, which I can write as x. Then we have this negative, and we're passing it to the 31. So negative times 31. Negative 1 times 31. That's going to give me a negative 31. There is our simplified answer. You go ahead and try number 3. Simplify this expression using the distributive property. And then number 4. Simplify this expression using the distributive property. Notice how we have the minus outside of the grouping symbol. All right, let's check your answers with mine. So when I pass this negative 1 to every member inside this group, I get negative 4x plus 12. My signs agree here because this is a minus 12 that I'm multiplying this negative 1 to. So I'm going to get a positive 12. Over here with number 4, when I do the distributive property, here is the simplified expression that I get. Negative 6m. Here my signs agree. So it's going to be a positive 9n. Remember, this negative on the outside, it's like a negative 1. The 1 is just invisible. We're going to take this concept and apply it to some expressions that get a little more challenging. Let's move to the second chunk in our notes. The question on the left-hand side says, how do I use the distributive property and like terms to simplify expressions? We've been doing this for a while now, haven't we? We're going to first distribute because that deals with multiplication. Our second part is going to be to combine those like terms because that deals with adding and subtracting. Here's the thing though, with this lesson today, we really want to be mindful of those minus signs, those negative signs. Let's look at example 5 together. We have 10 minus 5 times the quantity 9n minus 9. Right away, I see that I have distributive property that I can use to simplify this part of my expression right here. The value outside my mama bird is a -5. I want to make sure I take that minus with. I'm going to pass that -5 with multiplication to every member of the group. So -5 times 9n, well, that's going to give me minus 45n. -5 times, this is a -9. We've worked on this for a while. That's going to give me positive 45. Now I can't forget my 10, which is my first term in the expression. I didn't get to distribute or multiply the -5 with this 10 because it's not inside the group. Now I'm going to look to see if I can combine any like terms. We have two constants and we have one term that has an n with it. My constants I can combine together. So I have 10 plus 45, well that's going to give me 55. And then I have my -45n, that's going to come first, right? Alphabetical order, plus 55. Constants always come last. Here is our simplified expression. Here is example 6. I have two mama birds present in this problem. Do you see them? Here's a mama bird and here's a mama bird. Remember, this minus outside the group, there's that invisible 1. So it's like a -1 times the quantity 4n minus 7. Let's go ahead and let's pass the multiplication in our first part of the expression. So 12 times n, that's going to give me 12n. 12 times, this is a +3, so 12 times 3, that's going to give me positive 36. Now here, this mama bird is a -1. We need to pass that negative. So -1 times 4n is going to give me -4n times negative times a -7 is going to give me, my signs agree, so it's going to be a +7, so +7. Now we are ready to combine our like terms. I have a constant here, a constant here. Notice I bring the sign that's in front of the constant. It tells me it's a positive or a negative. Here I have a 12n, and I can combine that with my -4n. So 12n minus 4n, how many n's do I have? 8 n's left. And then I have 36, and I'm adding 7. What do I have there? Well, that's going to give me a positive 43. And I wrote this professionally. My constant is coming at the end. Here's the simplified expression to our original number 6. Let's go ahead and let's turn to the back of our notes now, and let's do example 7 together. In this problem, I'm first going to start by asking myself, can I apply distributive property to help me simplify? Yes, I can. Here's a mama bird, a number being multiplied to a group of numbers where on the inside you're adding or subtracting the terms. I can apply the distributive property. Now this mama bird is a -6, a -6. So again, we want to be mindful of those minus signs, those negative signs. Let's go ahead and let's multiply each one of these terms on the inside by -6. -6 times 9k, how many k's is that going to be? -54k. If you need a calculator to just help you check your basic facts, go ahead and do that. Next, we have -6 times, this is a -7. My signs agree, so my product is going to be a positive, what's 6 times 7? 42. We have a third baby in the nest. Remember, mama only feeds the babies in the nest, nothing outside of the nest. So this last baby is a -10u. So let's pass that -6 to our -10u. How many u's am I going to have? Positive 60u. Now I have two terms that I need to drop down. We have 18u and we have plus 4k. Now I am ready to apply combining like terms. Let's go ahead and let's start by looking for any constants, numbers on their own, and we'll go ahead and we'll underline them. I see one constant, a number on its own. I have a term with u in it. I can combine that with some other terms. One other term right there. And I have terms that have k in it. So I want to make sure that I bring those terms together. Always bringing the plus or minus that's in front of it. That tells us what to do with the term, or if it's a positive or a negative. So 18u, I'm adding 60u. How many u's do I have? 78 u's. Negative 54k, I'm adding 4k. So think negative 54 plus 4. Who won? The negative team did. By how much did they win? 50. So negative 50k. And then I have my plus 42. Now I'm going to ask myself, is this written professionally? Highest exponent first. Here I only have the invisible 1 exponent, and these both just have one variable in them. So then I want to focus on alphabetical order. K comes before u, so I'm going to rewrite this as negative 50k. I'm going to put that first. Remember, it's a negative 50k, a minus 50k. This is a positive 78u, so plus. Now I need that plus to be seen because it's not the first term anymore. 78u, and then plus 42. There's my simplified expression, and I wrote it in the professional way. Here's what I'd like you to do. We have one more example for just simplifying, where we're combining, or where we're applying the distributive property and then combining like terms. I'd like you to do number 8 on your own, so pause the video, come back, and then check your answer with mine. How did you do this first, Mama Bird? This is really what we've spent a lot of time on. Everything in here is positive. It's this part of the expression, this Mama Bird right here. Did you remember to take the negative with the 3 when you were multiplying to each member in the group? This second term in the group here, did you remember that this was a negative 6? So negative 3 times negative 6, that's going to give you a positive 18. When I simplified and then using the distributive property and then combined like terms, I got 7n plus 50. If you did not get this simplified expression from our original number 8 up here, pause the video, go ahead and look at the different steps that I have in front of you. See where you made your error. Moving to the final chunk in our notes, let's look at example 9. Now here we're going to simplify the expression, and then we're going to evaluate the expression. I'm going to give you some values for the variables, and you're going to have to substitute them in. Remember, we first start by simplifying because the whole purpose of simplifying in math is to make the problem easier. Ask yourself, can I use the distributive property to help me simplify here? Yes, I can. I actually see 2 Mama Birds. So my first Mama Bird here is a negative 3. I want to make sure that I bring that negative with when I take and multiply these terms with the 3. So I have negative 3 times 10b. That's going to give me negative 30b. My second term in the parenthesis here is a negative 10, a minus 10. So negative 3 times negative 10. My signs agree, so it's going to be a positive 30. I'm going to add 30. Over here, I get to use the distributive property again. My Mama Bird is a minus 5. So negative 5 times 1b, or b, that's going to give me minus 5b. My second birdie here is just a positive 2. Or I shouldn't say just a positive 2. It is a positive 2. Negative 5 times 2 is going to give me a negative, because my signs don't agree, 10. I used the distributive property, or I applied it. Now I'm going to look to see if I can combine like terms. I see that I have 2 constants, so I can put those together. And then I see that I have terms with a b. So I know I can combine those terms together, always bringing the sign that's in front of the term. So we have negative 30b. We're minusing 5b. That means we're moving further into negative land. That's going to give me negative 35b. And then we have 30, and we're taking away 10. That's going to give us a positive 20. Now we're not done, because I'm going to give you the value for b. So go ahead and look to the right of example 9 in your notes and go ahead and write this. B equals -2. On the line, we're going to write B equals, on that line, write -2. So that means we need to plug in -2 for B. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're going to have -35. I'm going to plug -2 in for B. This is -35 times the variable B. And then plus 20. So I need to do my multiplication before I add. -35 times -2. My signs agree. That's going to give me a positive 70. And then plus 20. 70 plus 20 is 90. My final answer is 90. So again, we simplified using the distributive property. We simplified by combining like terms. Here was our most simplified expression. Then we were given the value for the variable, so we substituted it in to take it down to just a number, and that number was 90. Let's go ahead and let's look at the next example, which is number 10, and we're going to do the exact same thing there. 7th graders, with number 10, our job is to simplify and then evaluate. We simplify first because literally it means to make the math problem easier. So we're going to ask ourselves, is distributive property present? Yes, it is. I have 2 mama birds. My first one is a -7. My second one here is a -1. So -7 times n, which is the same as 1n, is going to give me -7n. -7 times 3, it's a positive 3, is going to give me -21. Moving over to my other distributive property that I can apply right here. This is a negative. I need to pass that negative to every member inside the group. It's like a -1. So negative times my 8 is going to give me -8. And then passing the negative to the second term here, this is a positive 2n. So negative times 2n is going to give me -2n. Now I am ready to look and see if I have any lookalike terms that I can combine together. I always tend to look for the constants first. It's just what I do. And then I have a term here that has n in it, and I have another term that has an n in it. So -7n, we're taking away 2 more n's. That means we have -9n. -21, we're taking away 8. Where does that bring us? To -29. Again, if you need help with your basic facts or working with negatives when you're adding or subtracting, go ahead and use that calculator. Now we're not done. In your notes, n equals, find that to the right of example 10. N here is going to equal, write this on the line, 1/3. We are not intimidated by fractions. We got this. So go ahead and write 1/3 on the line. That's the value of n. We're going to take this 1/3 and we're going to plug it in for n in our expression. So that means we have -9 times 1/3 minus 29. Here I want to take care of my multiplication with these 2 terms before I subtract. Order of operations, right? If I have 1/3 of 9, that's actually the same as dividing by the reciprocal. So 9 divided by, what's the reciprocal of 1/3? 3/1. Do you know what 9 divided by 3 is? 3. So -9 times 1/3 is going to give us -3. Because my signs don't agree, it's negative. Minus 29. -3, you're taking 29 more steps further left. Where would you be? -32. There's my simplified answer once I substituted 1/3 in for n. And I got to this by first applying distributive property and then combining like terms.